Welcome back to The Price of Business. I'm your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business here on this Tuesday morning. Delighted to have my good friend on, Robert Jackson, an amazing company he's involved with called Sitters Etc. That's sittersetcetera.com. I'm telling you, in a time where, business entrepreneurs are trying to figure out where to go in the development of their next business activity, a business in which 1/3 of the population now are baby boomers, and then there's a huge number of silent generation and still some greatest generations left. A huge need for taking care of others exists, and a company with the sophistication of Sitters Etc. I think is awesome and makes so much sense from both from feeling good about what you do with your business life, but also making so much sense from an economic perspective. Robert, thanks for spending time with us today.
Good morning. Appreciate being back on. And, thanks for making those points. I was talking to someone this morning that said, but it seems like everyone's trying to hire off the street into their home to help their parents. And I said, that's very dangerous. In this day and age, you need an agency that does what we do, all the background checks, the employment verifications, the bonding and insuring. You just don't want to put anybody in your home. And so our franchisees have a big advantage with the structure of our training, obviously, Kevin.
Yep, and before you get to your guests, you guys made a major announcement about providing health professionals as well. Talk a little bit about that.
Yes, we made an announcement here about 6 weeks ago that we're now engaged in skilled care. That means we're putting RNs and LPNs into assisted living and hospital assignments because there's such a big opportunity with Obamacare cutting hospital reimbursements that these hospitals are looking for us to staff them. So our franchisees have another significant revenue stream that is skilled labor, the RN side.
I love it. Very good. Your guest today.
Mark Myette is my guest today with the Entrepreneur Source, and as you know, we've had several people on from this organization. It's a wonderful coaching network of professionals that helps people find the right franchise fit. And so, good morning, Mark.
Good morning, Robert. How are you?
Doing good.
Mark, glad to have you on the program. By the way, what part of the country are you in?
I'm in the great state of Georgia in Atlanta.
Very good. And tell us a little bit about your particular practice when it comes to helping people pursue the American dream. That's what it sounds like exactly you guys are involved in.
Absolutely, and thanks for having me on the program. And, in a nutshell, we really focus in on those individuals that are at that proverbial fork in the road that Yogi Berra had affectionately said they have to take. And from a professional standpoint, we help people that are either in a transition career-wise or mentally. They're just not engaged where they're currently going, or they just are wrapping their brain with, I want to do a business. I think I want to be self-sufficient through my own business, but I'm not sure what that is. And we really help them navigate their journey through a pretty sophisticated discovery experience that we provide.
Very good. Bob, your question?
Hey, Mark, what comes up a lot these days, as you know, is how do you help someone pick a franchise that has favorable demographics? In other words, it's not just a fad, something that's hot for a year or two. It's got a good 5, 10, 15-year run. How do you sort through that?
That's a great question. As part of our discovery experience, one thing that we try to really get an understanding and grounding in with our clients is besides what their background is, besides what their temperament is and how that could apply in a business, we also have them really begin to define what the business criteria are that are really important to them in a business if they decide to move forward with that as an option, where they basically start to stack rank the top 10 business criteria that are really important for them and their families. And some of those would include, as you've already indicated, return on investment, lifestyle issues, recession-proof model, not going to be supplanted by technology, any number of criteria that's going to be really relevant for them. So based on where they've landed in our discovery experience and with the business criteria that they've identified, it really allows us to begin to fine-tune which of those businesses would seem to make sense. To your point, Robert, about identifying those recession-proof businesses, there are some that, through our experience doing this now for 30 years, that we understand are going to be more susceptible to the ebbs and flows of the economy. The nice thing about Sitters, et cetera, of course, is that when mom or dad or sister or brother get sick and they need medical attention, ideally where they can be taken care of at home, that doesn't wait until somebody is financially ready to make that investment. If someone gets sick, all the resources will be applied to deal with that particular issue. So that's why Sitters is probably one great example of a recession-proof model.
Right, because you know what? People are going to have to work all the harder, even getting multiple jobs and part-time jobs in economies like this, and all the more need the help of a company like Sitters, et cetera.
Exactly.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. Go ahead there, Robert.
Yeah, another question that comes up a lot when you're dealing with business coaching is how do you determine if someone's better suited for a retail or a non-retail concept?
It's interesting. There are a lot of entrepreneurs out there and people that want to be in a business. And interestingly enough, sometimes before people actually go through our formal discovery experience, they think they want to do a particular business, or they think there's a particular business of interest for them. For example, I've spoken to some folks that have said, I'm really interested in this food concept, and if I peel back the onion on it, I'll ask a few clarifying questions. Can you tell me about your background? Number one, they've never worked in a restaurant or a food entity before. Number two, they don't have probably the resources to probably go in that direction. And then number three, they're basing what they think they want to do based on a gut feel. So part of where we begin to really assess whether or not their customer could be a business-to-business entity or a consumer, their background, their professional experience, their temperament. I mentioned that earlier. We use something called DISC, D-I-S-C, to really gauge someone's temperament, because that's usually a good indicator as to what type of business or type of client would seem to resonate with their temperament. And so through our discovery experience, we're able to really begin to figure out, what would seem to be the most logical type of clientele or demographic that they would or could begin to focus in on based on their background, temperament, and skill set.
Mark, by the way, do you have a website where people can get more information about what you do?
Yeah, it's www, of course, esourcecoach.com/MMYETTE.
Very good. And a phone number?
Phone number 404-931-3264.
Robert, we're about to have to wrap it up, but of course you can reach Robert Jackson over there at sittersetcetera.com. Final thoughts from you, sir?
Well, I really appreciate you being on, Mark, as our guest today, and it's wonderful to work with you in the Entrepreneur Source.
You guys did an awesome job. This went very fast because the topic was very timely, as always. Thanks, Robert.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, bud.
Thank you.
All right, when we come back, much more for you. Do want to remind you, best content here shows up over there at usdatareview.com. I am Kevin Price, and this is The Price of Business.